Welcome to the San Antonio FC Fancast. I'm your host Royce. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a tiresome threesome, three peas in a pod. I don't know what to call us. Yikes! Off to a great start. With me, got Rafa. Rafa, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you, Royce?
It's late.
Late.
Watching the Detroit City and Houston Dynamo match, which is tied at 3 late. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, definitely. And by the sounds of things at the check house, somebody is quite happy with the result so far. Jonathan, speaking of checks, Jonathan joins us. How are you, Jonathan?
Doing all right. Gonna have to use my mute button a little more often tonight because there is a certain person downstairs who at various points tonight may go, yeah, or shout some expletive. So we'll see how that goes. And if he's watching now, yes, we can hear you up here. So just keep that in mind.
Shout out to Mike Check. Passionate as ever. You love to hear it. You love to see it. Go Max Rodriguez and go Detroit City. Anyway, Matt, stick it, Matt. Matt's not joining us today for good reason because his team is not doing too well against the USL team. Anyway, so let's continue on. Thanks for joining us on the San Antonio FC Fancast. We are going to talk San Antonio FC. So let's start with our normal segments. First segment's going to be transactions, which we have. Jonathan, you want to tell everybody about the transactions we've had this past week?
Yeah, it's been a super busy week of transactions for SAFC with literally nothing.
Okay.
We have not seen any of those, 2-3 months into the season signings yet. No extra MLS loanees like we've seen in previous years. So keep an eye out for those. SAFC's got a bye week coming up, so that would be a good time to integrate some of those new guys if they want to bring them in, but nothing yet.
Fair enough. That sounds like a very complete report. And on to the next segment, we're going to talk about the San Antonio FC or SAFC family, SAFC alumni segment, which we have two big talking points on. First one is Jose Gallegos and Suna Yuska, formerly of, was it League One in the Danish league, has been promoted. They have earned promotion into the Superliga. So hopefully we'll be able to watch them on TV next season. But a great result, 2-1 win. They went up 1-0. The other team drew at halftime. The other team being Fredericia. Don't come after me about pronunciation, please. In Danish, we're trying.
Apologies to our Danish listeners.
Absolutely. Love. Yeah, can't speak the language. Anyway, so continuing. What am I thinking of? Copenhagen. Well, I mean Copenhagen's dip, but let's not talk about that. That has nothing to do with the country. Danish. Oh, I love your pastries. There we go. Perfect. Got it. We got there in the long run. And I love your team in Jutland, or I guess they're in North Jutland, right? Suna Yuska. Anyway, they're promoted into the Superliga. It's great to see. It's tied 1-1 at half. They ended up winning it in the second half on a late goal. So they win promotion, and they're actually, you know what, Jonathan, you tell us about the result and what do they have to do to win the league for a trophy?
Yeah, well, so the result, I mean, we were saying last week they're basically 99.999% confirmed, beating this team, the only team that could have conceivably ruined their promotion chances. It clinched it for them. Now they are, let me check back. I had written this down yesterday, but I didn't have it by memory. But 4 matches to go for them. They're currently top of the league. Just need Aalborg to not catch up. Well, Sundayuska can just win out or not drop too many points from here on, and it'll do the trick. But the other team right behind them in second, Aalborg, is 6 points back, has a match in hand. So, if assuming they win that match, because I'm sure they're going to want to get promoted too, that still puts Sundayuska 3 points ahead, and I believe they still have a decent goal difference edge on them. So it's looking fairly good. Promotion, we don't really have, don't really know what it's like. But promotion, I imagine, especially when you're in a lower division, that's the main thing. And if you can win the league, even better. Cool. It's a cherry on top. But you want to get up on that top. That's the most important thing for competitive purposes, for monetary purposes. So the important thing is they've checked that box now.
Hmm. Absolutely, which is great, and we'll continue following them until the end of their season, and hopefully they do end up winning a trophy because that'd be great. Be great to see. The other half of our alumni report is Tani Oluwaseyi cannot stop scoring for Minnesota. Very similar vibes to what he did with SAFC, and he's just continuing that form, continuing that destruction of a league in MLS with Minnesota. According to Jonathan, these stats are from Jonathan. He has 5 goals total this season. Pretty early in the season. That's pretty nuts. It would be nice to have a 5-goal scorer in SAFC. I'll tell you that much. But since he's subbing in late, that puts him at a mark of about 1 goal every 70 minutes, which is a crazy clip. So, but at the same rate, if anyone can do it, it's Tani. Go,
well,
John.
so for context, he actually had started kind of coming off the bench more, and he got a couple goals. He was working his way more into the team, and because of that, he's now started the last 3 matches. I think those are his first 3 starts of the season, and he scored in each one of them. So he's justifying that faith that the coach is giving him to start, and who knows how long he's able to keep that run going. But I mean, all you can ask is you score when you come on, you score when you start the match, you score goals, you're gonna keep getting playing time as long as you're fit. Unless the coach, unless there's something behind the scenes, which we've kind of seen with another one of our SAFC alumni.
Absolutely.
But Tani is now getting these opportunities and he's taking them. So you love to see it. Well done to him.
Absolutely. It's been great to follow. Rafa, you have any thoughts on Tani's form or Jose getting promoted?
I'm sure it's exciting for Jose. Maybe, like I said, getting a championship, something maybe he didn't get here, but he's got a good opportunity getting one over there in Europe. I know even it's a second division, but still, it's a championship. So it's something to look back on and say, hey, look, I did win something in Europe, and who knows what they can do once they're back in the Superliga. I mean, now there are 3 different European competitions. I'm sure they probably won't make Champions League, but there are other opportunities. I mean, the 2 Europa leagues. So who knows what they can do, moving on. And then what do you say about Tani? He's been awesome. He's been doing great. I think we expect a lot of great things from him going into the season, and the sky's the limit for him. He could be one of those breakout stars this year. So, just love following him, and, the best of luck to him for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Maybe if they do get the trophy, he'll bring it to San Antonio. We can all get a nice little picture with it. All right. So, doubtful, very doubtful. Anyway, but we'll be following. We'll see how that goes. Very excited to follow that. So let's go and transition into this past Saturday's match against Oakland Roots. We're going to start as we always start, unfortunately, with SAFC in the injury report. Jonathan, more from Jonathan. Here's Jonathan, the injury report.
Yeah. First of all, I know a couple of, Royce at least was looking at something SAFC posted for Star Wars theme, saying, they post this video and you see Mitch in trainings. That's looking great, right? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough call by me. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, like I've said, or at least like I said to you guys, I don't know if I've ever said it publicly, but I think at times SAFC has posted stuff and you look at it and you say, that video has Matt Cardone in it. He went ahead and went to law school a couple months ago. Or, sometimes they clearly record these in advance by weeks or even months.
To be fair to me, to be completely fair to me on this level, in the video, it was pouring and all of the players had obviously been rained on. And that past weekend was the only weekend that it had really rained. from my memory, that heavy during the hours of training. So that's where I was like, oh, maybe that was a recent. And then Jonathan was like, it wasn't, dude. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's tough.
Of course, I also have the benefit of going to training and seeing, hey, Mitch is. If someone had asked, I would have said he's technically there. He's on the field, but he was not training with the team necessarily. So, yeah, and that was something that as we were leaving, SAFC was like, can you keep this quiet? And okay, sure, I'll play ball with you guys. I honestly don't know if opponents are scouting, some random blogger's injury report and what he's saying, but I was like, all right, just to be safe, just to play nice with them, I won't say anything. But yeah, I kind of knew Mitch was going to be out. So, and I should start. We've still got Carter Manley, Hugo Mabongu, and Luis Salignac. They've been on the injury list. They're still on the injury list. You had Tainter after he came off in Miami, and somehow I don't remember Hawkinson getting an injury in Miami, but he was now out too. So that's with Tainter and Hawkinson. You've got two guys who I know in Tainter's case he had started every match. I believe Hawkinson had as well. If not, he was involved in every match.
Pretty close to it, yeah.
Yeah, you're suddenly missing two of those key players. And then in the first half on Saturday, Lucas Silva comes off injured. And I think this is the second time this year that's kind of happened to him, that he's had to come off, but he was able to bounce back. He was fit for the next match, no issues. So fingers crossed. I guess you hope that it happens again. But even if not so, like, that's still 5 injuries for SAFC. And with this being your first 3-match week, this is not the time to have that. And Alan Marcina has said, besides the starting 11 that he's able to field, he's got a couple of senior players on the bench. After that, it's academy kids. So it's kind of a rough moment. I almost feel like SAFC needs to just get over the line on Saturday. Obviously, you've got the game on Wednesday, one more game on Saturday, and then they've got 2 weeks or potentially a week and a half before their next match. It'll give them a chance to kind of take a breather, hopefully get a couple of those guys back into training, and maybe this is just a little blip, or maybe some of these injuries are going to last longer than we want them to. Who knows? We'll see. Obviously, SAFC doesn't like to disclose potential, how long these guys are going to be out. So we just have to wait and see and hope.
Yeah, either way, all SAFC fans, we need to light our candles for sure. Light your prayer candles. That injury bug has overcome the San Antonio FC locker room, and we need it to go away for sure, because it's not great. For those of you watching, you've already seen what's going on. For those of you just listening, we have another guest that is joining us right now. MLS Matt has joined the chat, as Houston Dynamo and Detroit City FC are in added extra time. They are tied 3-3 after normal time, and they're in the first 15-minute half of added extra time. Matthew, how are you? Oh, I think you're about to be really. Oh, okay. Detroit defended.
I'm shitting bricks right now.
Yeah, big surprise there. Yeah, you should, because
I'm shitting bricks, bro. They're oh my god.
Gee, imagine
like expert analysis.
It's oh my god. Okay, we're not talking about them right now. We're talking SAFC.
Yeah, it's almost like MLS. Right. The only difference between MLS and USL are the DPs. That's it. In MLS, sat all their Dynamo sat all their DPs, so now it's basically a 11 match.
Ache's in there.
He got out.
He's also arguably their worst player, so it don't matter.
Hey, right here. Just imagine it. Just imagine it.
I think Coach Hada said it best here in the theme. He said, "Only theme night we need going forward is the United Methodist and Sports Medicine Associates."
Yeah, no shit, dude. Yeah, behind the East stand, I've noticed the community health booth. I'm like, dude, get in that locker room and go help them out for sure. And the both H's in Ache, Hector Herrera, they both stand for horrible. So anyway, moving along, let's go into the gameplay for the Oakland match. Game started pretty quickly for SAFC. I think they played really well in the first 15 minutes. They dominated the ball. They got a chance. Chol puts the ball in the net in the 9th or 10th minute. It gets called back for offside, which, Jonathan, you're in the press booth. What did you see on that play?
Ironically, I heard some people saying, oh yeah, that's clearly offside. And I think even when I went back and watched the broadcast, they were saying, yeah, no, he's clearly offside. If you look on the replay, to me, it looks fairly close. I mean, I'm not saying he was onside, but it's certainly not a case of, oh yeah, he's clearly offside. So maybe a bit unfortunate for SAFC there. Obviously, we don't have the luxury of VAR to draw the lines, to take a second, third, fourth, 27th look at it. But ruling on the field stands. No goal for SAFC. He was offside. It was a good finish. Would have been a nice start for SAFC. A much needed goal, honestly, especially the way this match went. To open it up with that goal would have been really important. Didn't go SAFC's way. You have to move on. And against this Oakland side, it shouldn't have been that difficult to brush yourself off and go ahead and get that first goal without the referee or the assistant referee technically getting in the way.
Right. And that's, I mean, we'll go through the gameplay and we'll talk about the end, but that's kind of how I felt about it in the end. Is kind of, you can't let the whistle dictate the result of the match. You got to overcome that whistle. So, and from my point of view, I thought they called it on Agudelo on the initial pass, but definitely not the case. They called it on Chol because I thought Chol was more onside than Agudelo was on the initial pass. But hey, I'm not a ref. I'm not going to make fun of the guy. I'm not in that position, so it wasn't my call, and I thought he got it wrong, and who knows? Anyway, moving on.
The offsides.
Correct. Rafa, what did you say on that?
I think because we're the angle we're at, Royce. It didn't look like it, and then kind of also looking at the replay, it looks like the linesman really kind of hesitated at first to picking up that flag, so he wasn't really sure if it was offside. And he's like, you know what, yeah, I'm going to call it. But like Jonathan mentioned, I think it was real close. To me, it looked like he wasn't. I think he stepped wrong, but like I said, we're not at the angles for that. But I think had we scored on that really kind of would have changed the dynamics of the game moving forward.
I mean, San Antonio FC scoring early first is normally a really good sign for the team, and since Alan Marcina took over, so
he says the match after SAFC opened the scoring and then went on to lose 2-1 to Miami.
I mean, you're not wrong. But scoring first at home, different animal. So anyway, continuing on. Honestly, not much else to really talk about from the first half except Silva's injury. He came off pretty early in the match. Looked like a upper thigh, lower body injury, the dreaded LBI. We kind of rotated around to adjust to that, and kind of did what we needed to positionally to make up. Lacey came in for Silva, and we kind of rotated around that. So that was interesting to see, but at the same rate, it looked okay. From what I remember, Chol ended up going on that left side, ended up playing on the pretty much as the left wing back, and then Lacey went in as a forward next to Agudelo, which seemed to work okay. Obviously, Chol not a natural left wing back, so the center backs really had to work a little harder, and you had Kevon Lambert stepping back into those open positions whenever they had an overload on one side to cover. But I think they did okay in making up for it. Rafa, what did you see on the obviously the tactical shift, the formation shift? Yeah.
I mean, whatever you have on the bench, I mean, you're gonna have to kind of play on the fly and make that adjustment. I'm a little surprised they kind of stayed with that 3-5-2. I think if Lacey was going to come in, maybe they should have modified it to maybe the 3-4-3, play with 3 forwards up top, just shift Lambert as your holding man, move Shannon back to that, to the third defender. I think maybe that would have been better, because that way Chol, you still keep him up top, as your center point of the attack. But this time you have Aduelo on the wing, and same thing with Lambert, because you want the speed on the outside. Like I said, Lacey does a lot of damage, especially when he gets the ball and goes under it. I think he should have done that adjustment. Once they had that injury, but like I said, he wanted to keep that 3-5-2, and he modified it. The only thing I'm like very concerned with, especially in that first half, is the lack of shots on goal. I think, Jonathan, you mentioned earlier, pre-show, that about Lacey, I think, was one of the ones who getting the shots off. And if you notice, I'm starting to see all this hesitation to take a shot, where they're waiting for the perfect shot to get, and we're losing opportunities and all that. And that's something that's already starting to bite us in the butt, and which we'll get into. That's what happens in the second half.
Jonathan?
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of that, Rafa referenced what I had told you guys before we started the show. And this was especially interesting because Alan Marcina after the match was saying, we dominated all the way through. We created 7 shots in the opponent's box. That's great. And I went back and looked. Well, SAFC had 2 shots in the first hour of this match. And they were both from Cameron Lacey, who comes on, was already, we were talking about, provides a spark when he comes, particularly off the bench. He really brings energy to SAFC. And that's something I wrote in my preview for the Indian match. Shameless plug, bluishmoonblog.wordpress.com. But the fact that, besides those 2 shots and Chop Chol's goal that was ruled offside, the fact that no one else was taking shots, you need to start making the most of those opportunities that you're creating and stop looking for that perfect shot, particularly early in the season. Sometimes just take a chance, see if it takes a weird ricochet, or if you're able to catch the goalkeeper by surprise. I don't know what it is. I don't know why SAFC isn't creating those shots, but it's just so weird because, like I said, Marcin is talking about, we created 7 shots in the opponent's box. Well, if you only had 2 shots total in the first 60 minutes, basically right before you go down, that kind of says that maybe you weren't out of first or second gear yet. And I asked Marcina about that. Hey, are you a little worried that the team didn't quite have that urgency until they went down a goal? No, we dominated the match. It's like, okay, if you say so. Like, to me, I think that's a bit of a warning sign there for SAFC. You've got to show that urgency, that aggression, that force, that willpower before you go down a goal. And we've seen this so often, particularly over the last a little over a year with SAFC, is they can be a decent team and then suddenly against the run of play, they concede. And it's like, oh, hey, we actually have to play now. We have to shift out of first or second gear. And it just begs the question, why? Why does it always take a gut punch like that to wake this team up, to get them to say, oh, hey, we're a good team. Maybe we need to play like it. Maybe we need to let it show on the scoreboard.
It's like we have kryptonite in the attacking third. Like, we're scared to finish. I think that's what I see. We're just not. And then also, we just don't have that number 9 that has that killer instinct that, if you mentioned, Jonathan, going after the team. And I think if you setting the tone of the game is you going after a team, especially since we haven't mentioned this, I'll go ahead and mention this. Oakland was playing with 6 academy players, and they had an interim coach. So that's right there. You smell blood, you go in for the kill, and this team just was kind of playing on fumes, like little we'll get there. We're just you know that situation. You go in for the kill, and when you don't do that, you're going to allow this team to kind of grow confidence. Especially when you have 6 academy players, those kids are going to be hungry. Say, hey, I got to prove myself to this coach if I want to stay on and keep my roster spot. And like I said, when you saw what happens in the second half.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It kind of, to me on the field, it felt like they really did come out strong in the first 10 or 15 minutes. And then after that, they were just kind of going through the motions. didn't really set anything else. Didn't really set anything up. It just really felt like they were going through the motions, and I think that is a indictment. I don't want to say it's anything negative on Marcina and the coaching staff. I think it's an indictment of us changing kind of tactical goals, what we're trying to do. We're more possession based now. Being in possession, you're not always just going to attack because you're going to leave yourself, vulnerable on the back end. But there are certain ways that you can start trying to pull the other team apart. And instead of doing that, it just seems like we're just going side to side to side to side without any real goals. But at the same rate, the more you do that, the more you will see those diagonal passes and those spaces opening up. And that's kind of what they're trying to do when they go just side to side to side to side, is they're trying to see what player has a tendency to stay short on a certain run and where that run is going to be. But two things: you need somebody to make that run. We're not making runs. You have Chol. It seems like he's very much a kind of a poacher number 9, to where he's up there. He'll make a run for a header, but he's more, on the back line looking for a run, but he's not creating space in his runs. Agudelo is a hold-up forward. He's staying in that false 9 area right in the middle, and he's just waiting to flick it on to somebody. And then you have Hernandez, that is just a rover going side to side to side to side, and he's trying to create, and that's why it kind of looks like he's the only one creating stuff. That's kind of his job. He's in that where we used to have Christian Pirano in kind of a rover position, going left to right, left to right. In defense, he has one position he needs to be in, but in possession, he's all over the place looking for spaces. That's why he's getting all these crosses in from the left or from the right, because he's just going all over the place. So the issue is you have you basically have everybody static except for Jorge Hernandez, and that's why it looks like he's trying to create. But there's an issue there. Nobody's trying to pull anybody apart. And so with the possession, it's just kind of tough to create space if you're not creating space, if that makes any sense. But I think that is, like I said, a growing pain of a possession, of going from bunker and counter, which is 2 guys and depending on pure athletes to try to score goals up top, rather than having the whole team move the ball around and try to move the other team around, using possession as a weapon to try to get space through. So from my point of view, I think that's my prognosis on what's going on. And later on this season, I think we'll see that pay dividends. And even in the future, I think we will. But right now, it's kind of growing pains right now. Rafa, you have any thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, like you mentioned about the runs, one of the things as a player, because one thing I teach my players is finish the run even without the ball. It's about clearing, like you mentioned, clearing space.
Yeah.
That allows that to pull that defender out, and whoever has the ball can make a decision, either to dribble forward and take the shot, or look for someone that's going to open. One of the things we're not doing once we get to that attacking third is we're not playing quick touches. Yeah, I'm not saying to be like the tiki-taki there, but
there's not a lot of 1-2s. You got
we don't have a lot of the wall passing being done in that 18 to make the space, to make the runs, especially making little runs from the back too, because we have the speed. Like, we have Lacey, I think he's got a speed to get that. Chol, I think he can benefit from that. But also pulling away is having people up in the 19. So Agudelo is going to be up there in the 19. He's going to have shots from there to take from distance. So that, I think that's something they're going to have to really look at themselves on film to see, what can I do to clear space, especially with Jorge. But also Jorge needs to be aggressive. I think he needs to be taking shots.
Yeah.
I know he's not supposed to be the main goal scorer, and he's not, but he has that space. If they're going to give you space, take advantage of it. Take that shot. I mean, he's got the leg to score goals from distance. So I think that's something they're going to have to start taking risk and trust the process. and that's going to allow them to really have more space to finally get goals on in that.
You know who has been playing 1-2s a lot with Jorge Hernandez early in the season is Lucas Silva. Do you know who leads the team in goals? Lucas Silva, tied on 2 with
3 other
2
players.
others, but at the same rate, like those are the 2 that were really creating, and they've created other people's goals from their 1s and 2s on the outside. So definitely, and just more movement in general, and kind of what I want to see. And just got a score update. The Dallas Stars are up 2-0 in their series against the Avalanche. That's kind of nice. Anyway, where was I going along with that? Lost my train of thought. So I started thinking hockey for 2 seconds.
See,
What I want to see, I'm sorry, Matt. What I want to see is more runs to create space either for Agudelo by Chol. And that's kind of what Lacey does, right? When he comes in, he creates space by running, and he makes those runs. He finds space or he creates space. And that's why you get Agudelo in better positions when Lacey's on rather than Chol, because Agudelo creates the space for Chol whenever he's on, which we saw in this match. Chol put the ball in the net because Agudelo created space for him by holding up the ball. Problem is Chol is offside. So they are kind of creating space, but once again, like I said, it's early in the formation, it's early with the team. They're getting there, but let's get past this point. Unless Jonathan, do you have anything to add?
No,
Okay.
I was just thinking we need to get into the actual goals.
Yeah, the actual game. Yeah, that's tough. I'm on Ethernet too, so that's really tough for me. Anyway,
Can I point one thing out that bothers me about how we've been playing?
go ahead.
To go with Rafa, what Rafa said about the nines, not the false nine, that we need a number 9. But there's also players that I feel like should just go play in their position and stop playing these other positions. And we do need a finish. Like that game, seeing it up front, how Silva's throwing in the ball and you see players not running ahead. Oh, bro, there's so much it pisses me off. Like I know we have to trust the process, but to me, honestly, it's a reverse process to me. I don't see anything happening. I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but I really feel like we need to start looking for something, because I'm at that point where it's just I'm not trusting the system whatsoever.
I think what we're mentioning is like we're not improving each week. I know it's a new system. With the new system, we're supposed to be improving there. Now the passing is fine. Like I said, our passing accuracy is fine. The position is fine. But if in order to progress, and that comes back to the attacking third, we're not progressing there. We're still where we're at in the beginning, and he's gonna have to figure out something. What can we do to spark that to finally get some space to get those goals, and take or encourage them to take more shots, because like I said, when you have a new system, you have to be improving that each week, and we're not seeing that, and that's a little concern. We're, like I said, not to hit the panic button, but that is concerning moving forward once we get into the deep, kind of like the meatier part of our schedule, because it is going to get tough, and especially at the back end, we need to be hitting all cylinders, especially those last 4 games.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll see. It's change of formations and change of technical outlet overlays and ideas. It's not going to happen overnight, but at the same rate, I don't disagree that we need to improve a little bit more and kind of get this thing going. So let's talk about gameplay. Like I said, scoreless at the half. Oakland ends up drawing first blood. Their forward, Sherry, got up really high on kind of a desperate cross. Sherry was killing us all night. He was out jumping everybody by at least a foot. Dude can jump 15 feet in the air. It's absolutely insane. But there's a hopeful cross, middle of the box, pretty much at the in the middle of the 6-yard box. He jumps above everybody. It's not a directed header. It's kind of a looping header, but it just goes in the proper spot to get around Cisniega and the rest of the defense. Ball's in. 1-0 Oakland. Rafa, that unfortunately happened right in front of us. What did you see on that?
It's just lack of concentration on defending on that cross. You can't fall asleep. You got to be making sure you're marked and not be caught ball watching. You got to make sure you're on that person. And I think our team really kind of let their guard down on that goal. And like I said, that kind of porous play finally caught up to them, and we allowed a cheap one to get in. And I think that's the issue with this team is we've been giving up a lot of cheap goals that we shouldn't, and that's not progress as far as getting better. And, kudos to Oakland, it shows that they wanted it more. And then, like I said, they ended up striking first.
Absolutely. So moving along, a little less than 10 minutes later, Burra puts a fantastic cross into the box from the left side, finds Agudalo's right foot. He puts it in the goal. Tied at 1, and Agudalo's family, he had members of his family in the crowd that he dedicated the goal to. So that was great to see. And like I said, it is his first goal since the opening match. He really, really needed that one, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come for him. To make that run with the late cross from the midfield like that, we haven't really seen that a lot this season. We've seen a lot of crosses either come directly from the inline back. We haven't seen a lot of diagonal crosses like that, and that was a really pure one from Burra. Jonathan, what did you see on that one from your vantage point in the press box?
Yeah, I mean, not too much to it. Work the ball forward, and SAFC ultimately, I don't remember who it was, but someone sees Burra making a forward run on the left flank, sends the ball out to him, and I mean that cross was just right into a dangerous area. That's exactly where you want to be putting a cross.
It was a peach.
Sort of that top of the box, the 6-yard box, I should say, to where maybe it's a little too far from the end line for the goalkeeper to come out for, and it's a very driven cross as well. And so Agudelo just needs to shape his foot just right to redirect it, gets it into that bottom right corner. Gave him a needed goal, both for having his family in the stands and for him just trying to get back into the goals, particularly for this team that's been struggling to find goals, as well as who is that reliable goal scorer. And not that this goal makes it Agudelo, because he's still only on 2 for the season, but sometimes, especially for forwards, all you need is that first goal to drop. You break that drought and you just get a run going. I mean, we were talking earlier about Taniolo Ushei. He's now started 3 games. He's got a goal in each of them. Sometimes that's what it takes, is just getting that streak going. And so just great for him. And we will get to it a bit in the team of the week, but I think that was just really a great cross. And hopefully we are able to see more like that from him. Hopefully injuries don't keep him too far back on the field, and he's able to play that position, create those chances more going forward.
Absolutely. So it's great to see, and hopefully we could see more of it soon from both of those players. A little less than 10 minutes after that, SAFC earns a corner. Hernandez puts it in. Gets cleared, goes right back to Hernandez. He puts it right back in. Kind of almost a mirror image of the Oakland goal. It's a looping cross in that Kevon Lambert jumps higher than everybody, wins it, gets a looping header over everybody, and just puts it in the right spot. It goes in 2-1 SAFC. Crowd goes nuts. And by the way, we had nearly 8,000 people at this match for Star Wars night, for May the 4th night. Which kind of surprised me, to be honest. I didn't think it would be anywhere near that full. It was, and it was nearly a sellout, which really surprised me. I thought, hand up accountability on this one. I thought that is a gimmick night. No one's going to show up to this. It's going to stink. It was pretty great. Crowd
It's
was
the
into
stuff
it.
they
They were
sold that
loud.
got them there, I bet.
What
The
stuff did
blue,
they sell? They had limited
okay,
warm-ups.
the blue milk, I think, was a seller, and those lifesaver pretzels, I think, was the seller. Mainly that blue milk.
No. Okay. Okay. One man's opinion. Sure. Okay. You can have that one. That's fine. But on this goal, Rafa, what did you see from this one? Did you go to the bunker for the second half?
Yeah,
or were
I
you
went to the bunker. Yeah, I
Okay,
went
so
to
what
the
happened
bunker
in
in the
front of
second
you?
half.
Look at you.
So I got
Look
to
at
see
you.
the goals. Yeah, just I wanted to get a closer view to see the goals. And like I said, it was a good play. Lambert, I think one thing I think we need to start taking advantage of is with Lambert's size. I think he's very deadly
For
on
sure.
crosses, and I think we need to see a little bit more of that, especially on set pieces too. He's he made a great play there on that header, and the keeper just had no chance. And I think that's one of the aspects of our game that we need to see a little bit more. Because he's a game changer, especially when he's up in the air. He's and if you've seen that in some of the other games, he really does a lot of damage there, and especially in the defending too. When the ball's sent up in the air, he really knocks those. So he's a really complete player, and we're looking to have him. But I'm sure he felt great getting that goal. He did that backflip, and he got the the stadium rocking and looked like we're gonna pull this one off.
And it was his second goal of the year as well. So pretty great. Moving forward, unfortunately, about 5 minutes later, there's a little scramble in the box. Oakland gets it, and basically zone 15. 15. No, not 15. That'd be 13. Zone 13 at the edge of the box. Puts a shot in. Come on, Lambert goes to block it, has his arm tucked as much as he can, goes off his elbow as it's against his chest, gets called a handball. I don't think anywhere in the world that's called a handball except for this league where there's no VAR. So penalties given. We instantly get 2 yellow cards for dissent, which are completely unwarranted because the ref completely got it wrong, in my opinion. And then on the penalty shot, Cisniega goes the wrong way. Oakland ties it up. Jonathan, what did you see on this one?
Yeah, first of all, just regarding awarding the penalty, when you look back at it, you see, okay, yeah, it does hit his arm, and he's as much as he's got his arm kind of against his chest. There's only so much you can do. It's not like you can. It's not like an airplane's wheels where you can retract it into the body again. So it has to just naturally stick out a little bit. I think the referee's angle is really what killed Lambert here, because when you see if you follow the trajectory of the ball, it goes sort of into the arm. It's just kind of straight on. But if you're at sort of a 90-degree angle to that, which the referee was, you're seeing a ball come in and hit his arm. You don't know if it's in line with the silhouette of his torso or if it's extended out from his body. So the referee sees the ball hit his arm. Even if it's not necessarily an intentional handball, it is a handball in the box. I got to give a penalty. So, and obviously at the same time, you could maybe see the referee getting some help from his assistant referee, except he's on the opposite end of where he would need to be to see this. So neither referee really has the best view. So this is one of those calls that everyone's going to be clamoring for VAR, but you're not going to see that in the USL anytime soon, as far as I can think of. I mean, for those who don't realize, it takes money to make that happen, to operate it, and most USL clubs are already operating at a loss, I'm pretty sure.
From what I've heard, not VAR, not regular old VAR where it's a few cameras. From what I've heard, though, the just to kind of put in perspective on expenses, the goal line technology, apparently they decided not to do that in the Turkish league this season. And this is just the goal line technology. This is like 3 or 4 cameras that just point at the goal line to give you a clear view of the ball to see how far it is. It's $18,000 a match just for the goal line technology. Yeah, it's a monopoly. Like, they could charge whatever the hell they want to because the companies that perpetrate it, that they have a monopoly on it. They can charge whatever they want. So that's what they do. But the Turkish league decided, yeah, that's a little rich for our blood. I mean, you think there's what 20 teams in the league, most likely somewhere around there. They play each other twice, so you're looking at, each
38
team has 38 games, 38 times 20. That's nearly 800 games at $18,000 a piece. That's tough for the league. So, and imagine how much VAR costs the league. That's USL. That's kind of where it's at financially. So it is what it is, and hopefully they figure out a way to do it soon. But if you can't have it in every stadium, I guess you just can't have it. Period. But yeah, it's a little tough result for SAFC. Real quick, big shout out. At the end of the match, we had Richard Wimbichler come on for the first time. He does exist. He is alive. And I thought he looked really, really good, bringing the ball up in possession, moved the ball well, was all over the place. He's fast, very skillful with the ball for a center back. Man, that might be your left back for the left wing back for this match against Indy. I thought he looked really good. He's very impressive. Dude's got moves. He was dribbling all over the place, making people look silly. So, and that's the kind of line breaker you need, especially if Silva's going to be out. Marcina may want to consider having him on the left. Rafa, what'd you think of Wimbichler's debut, or his 10-minute debut that he got at the end of this match?
Yeah, Matt mentioned to him about him. Like, he looked great. I mean, now especially with Manley out, now you can kind of play with the back three. So literally, you can actually push Shannon Gomez up as a winger. So, Shannon's kind of like, you can play on the defense. But the way he played, I think there's an opportunity there, especially for tomorrow's game, but also even for Saturday, to have him start and see what he does, and have him now we can have some little more flexibility, especially with Lucas out. We can have Shannon go into that area. We don't have to sacrifice Chol from to play back, and that way we can keep him up top. So it was great to see him. Like I said, he's got a skill set, and who knows? Like I said, we probably found a diamond in the rough with him, and I think he's really motivated. And I look forward to hopefully seeing him tomorrow against Indy.
Question: is he a winger?
No, he's center back. He was a center back, and he was a left-sided center back in a back three for his Chinese first division team.
Him and Shannon. Oh my God, it was perfect.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be good. You have Silva too, so maybe when Silva gets healthy, you can have on the left side. You can have Tainer in the middle, and you can have Wimbichler and Silva kind of doing some magic on that left side. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. We have options. We have injuries, but we also have options, which is nice. And just a quick scoring update. We're gonna go real quick into a preview of. We're gonna move right along. Game ended 2-2. Tough. We're gonna preview SAFC's Open Cup match coming up tomorrow. As a scoring update, we would tell you who they're gonna play, or if they were to win, who the winner of Indy 11 versus SAFC tomorrow are gonna advance to play. But the Houston Dynamo and Detroit City FC are going to penalties. So by the end of this, podcast, we should know who the winner of tomorrow's match is going to be. But let's preview U.S. Open Cup match, round of 32, fourth round, San Antonio FC at Indy 11. Jonathan Check, take it away, sir.
Yeah, so for me, one of the biggest questions coming into this match, and we've alluded to SAFC and all the injury problems right now, and how I mentioned earlier, Marcina says there are 2 senior players. I don't know if that includes the backup goalkeeper, and I don't know if that is assuming Silva's going to be out or if he's going to be fit. But the point is, SAFC's got a really thin squad right now, and we've seen in the past, Marcina in the first Open Cup match has not been afraid to play some of the academy players, but I think it's a lot less likely this time around because you're playing deeper in the tournament. You're playing a fellow USL Championship team. This isn't Club de Leon last year, who on top of being a lower division club, had some other player eligibility issues. And this isn't, just those kinds of teams. And you're also not playing at home. So I don't even know if some of those academy players are cleared to travel with the senior team halfway across the country. So I think we might even not see a full bench tomorrow. But my real question is, who's going to be playing? It's probably going to be mostly the same guys. I mean, like I alluded to, Kendall McIntosh, you might see coming off the bench as goalkeeper, but uh, otherwise, Kevin Lambert probably still wearing the captain's armband, still starting. You would think maybe Juan Agudelo. I mean, he's the wrong side of 30 now, but if he's still got the fitness, then okay, sure, you want a veteran like that on there. At the same time, I mean, there's not much wiggle room in terms of that starting 11, and maybe you sub in, like you guys were saying, Vin Vickler. I don't know if he's. I'm thinking maybe it's a fitness issue that's kind of kept him out of the team, and
I think
he also kind of arrived late.
Yeah, I think it
So-
was. I think it was him I think it was a nagging injury from his last match in the Chinese First Division League, and then him just getting up to match fitness. I think it's kind of a combination of the two.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you can see him coming in later, and then I'm trying to think who the other bench player Marcin is referring to might have been.
There's Mulatto.
Yeah, who's a
Um,
mulatto.
Who's the other forward?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah,
like I already mentioned, McIntyre. Just looking at the bench from Saturday,
fair enough.
you've got Mulatto. Lacey had already had to come on for Silva. Vin Vickler came on, and McIntosh is your goalkeeper. Besides that, it's 3 or 4 academy players there.
Yeah,
So you're really thin, and it's with this being SAFC's first midweek match, the first match with 3 week or the first week with 3 matches. It's really going to be a question of how are these guys managing their energy? Are they going to be able to go the 90 minutes? Even just on Wednesday, they will have had 3-4 days to recover, but they did have to travel to Indy, presumably earlier today. And even then, after this, SAFC travels back home, has, I don't know, maybe one training session before playing Las Vegas on Saturday. So it's by the end of this week, this SAFC team is just going to be really running on fumes, and you've got to figure out how do you keep going? How do you survive this week? Because there's not the depth to sub too many players out unless you want to put the academy kids on, which is a great opportunity for them, but is a bit risky if, I mean, you're already in the round of 32. That's where you enter this tournament. This is a great opportunity to make a run to 16-8-4. Matt's looking pretty happy. So, I think maybe not. I don't know. That kind of derailed my train of thought there.
yeah. It looked like it got saved. It looks like a Dynamo penalty just got. Oh, they said it went over. Oh wow, I thought it got saved. Anyway,
Crazy
that's
stuff.
tough.
But yeah, so something I had written in my preview, which I kind of plugged earlier, and I'll say for SAFC, I think the key, particularly Wednesday and also to an extent Saturday, is play smart, not hard. I know SAFC has this high energy style, but with the squad being as thin as it is right now, you've got to be clever. You've got to not just be pressing, but make the right choices and try and make your life as easy as you can on sort of the decision making. That way you're not having to compensate with lung busting runs or tough tackles or anything like that. As far as how Indy stacks up against SAFC, I mean, I just kind of took a bit of a preliminary look at the stats, but you're looking at SAFC has had some struggles the last few matches. Well, Indy's got 2 straight wins. And
To be fair, the match before those 2 straight wins was a 1-0 loss to a 10-man Colorado Springs, who is not good.
I believe it was a draw with Colorado Springs, who has now won.
Oh, that's right. It was
last
1-1.
matches.
It was 1-1. You're right. But it was a 1-1 draw against a Colorado Springs team that was down to 10 men for about 3/4 of that match. So
Fair enough. And I think I was even I don't think we talked about it on the podcast itself, but a few weeks ago when SAFC drew Indy, I was saying, okay, well, they've lost their last 4 matches, and it was to the top 4 teams in the East, so it's kind of hard to figure out, okay,
It's
how do they
fair.
really rank? And so you look at their most recent win against Monterey Bay, courtesy of an 88th minute goal from Elliot Collier. So that's kind of nice. Monterey Bay's above the playoff line in the West, so that looks like a good result. The one before that, they beat North Carolina, who, now that Miami has gotten its win over SAFC and jumped off the bottom of the table, now North Carolina is at the bottom. So you don't really know what to make of that. In terms of sort of the raw just goals scored and goals conceded, both of these teams, SAFC and Indy, have scored 14 this season, and
Yeah.
yet SAFC's only conceded 11. Indy's conceded 17, which is the second most in the league. But if you remember the big Louisville Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest match on CBS, big CBS, they shipped 5 goals to Louisville there, so there's
Yeah.
almost a third of your tally. So it's just so hard to figure out what is this Indy team. I mean, I can't watch every single match in the USL. I can't really tell you how their style or anything matches up against SAFC, but just on paper, it's so hard to figure out, okay, what kind of team is SAFC actually?
Yeah, they really do seem like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of team, and you don't know what you're going to get on a given night. So, Rafi, have any thoughts on the upcoming match tomorrow night, Indy against SAFC?
Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of like mixed feelings. Do you want to win this game, knowing that Saturday is I think it's a big important game because, like I said, it's the rematch versus Las Vegas, which you drop points over there. We're going to see how the mindset of this team, because also if you win this game, you have an opportunity to host the next round game, like I said, the round of 16 game, and it's gonna, and like I said, it's gonna depend because we are, like I said, we are a little shorthanded, and Marcina's kind of. I think if we were healthy, I think we take it. We probably would more likely take this serious. Really go out to win, but in this case, it's kind of like 50-50. Like I said, once we see the lineup, I think that'll tell us who I think who we might play next.
Well, Houston needed to. They saved a PK from Detroit City. They needed to get their 5th and final PK to clinch it, and it got saved. So it's tied at 4-4 right now, going into extra rounds of PKs.
But regardless, if we win, we're playing whoever here in Toyota, so that'll be great, And maybe, like I said, if you win an opportunity, you get to the quarterfinal. It's I don't think we've ever done that, but I think right now, I think what's important is getting these 3 points on Saturday. I think that's because we can't give up all these points early on. I know Royce, you mentioned about, it's about finishing, how you finish towards the end. But
it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Yep.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think the
look at Phoenix last season.
Yeah. But it's important also to not to give up points on teams that we shouldn't lose. And that's
wrong.
That's what happened to us last year. It bit us in the butt. So
and it's already happening this year.
Yeah. And I think last year's team had a little bit more depth than this year's team. And
yeah.
So what adjustments we make, like it says, moving forward, we'll find out.
I mean, hopefully we just get healthy. That's my biggest concern.
That's number one. Yeah.
Jesus, I don't like tomorrow. If he does have academy players on the bench, I'm not gonna lie. I probably don't feel very confident. That's just me.
We'll see.
I mean, it depends on if they're actually going to play or if they're just there
Correct.
as break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, but it's just, I get it, like how we said it's not how you start, it's how you finish, but sometimes are really they're not very convincing. Let's put it at that. Some of these like for instance, Miami. I that I mean, was it? Yeah, like that should we shouldn't be losing to lower teams. We shouldn't be. If we're so top notch now, that's not.
I
I
think
just
honestly, I think this league, there's a lot more parity in this league. It's a lot closer than it's ever been in the talent pool. I don't disagree that we probably shouldn't be losing, but at the same rate, the talent pool is so close to each other. It's it's close. It's closer than it's ever been. So it's going to be more difficult to win this league ever. It's going to be more difficult to be successful in this league, but at the same rate, it's what it's the standard we've set, San Antonio FC set for ourselves, and it's the standard we need to live by, and we need to be better. We need to go forward. So real quick, Shadow Wolf's in here, SAFC Fancast without Harry again. It's like seeing Jordan Farr making silly mistakes. You're just getting used to it, sadly. That's tough. That's tough. But Harry is he's doing well. It's tax season. Shadow Wolf, I know you're not not in the States, but April
it's extended tax season.
yeah.
Okay, I was about to say it is not tax season
No,
anymore. Okay.
It's still tax season. People file for extensions and they're still doing it. And just because people did their taxes on April 15th, it doesn't mean everything's done. So he'll be back. He'll be back soon enough. It's one of those times. April 15th is normally tax season. I don't even know in Germany if you have to do your own taxes. But here we do,
They pay for your college.
which is very silly. Yeah. Let's not. I know. My paycheck gets taxed 25%. Theirs gets taxed 30%. They have healthcare. They have free school. What are we doing here? I don't know what we're doing here. Anyway,
Shout out to Shadow.
yeah. Shout out to Shadow Wolf. Appreciate you, man. Always love the conclusions. Always love following. Always love the advice. And one love from the U.S. to Germany. So appreciate you. So we'll round it out to our final thoughts. I'll go ahead and get Matt out of the way, as there's a penalty shootout happening right now. Looks like they're in the 9th round. Matt, how are you? Final thoughts.
I'm struggling, but I mean, I do have my mixed feelings on this, on how everything's going, but just try to keep what y'all have with SAFC. Try to keep what's left, because I know some people are on the bridge. Just try to keep what's left, or what you can with SAFC. I mean, I know there's a lot of decisions we don't agree on, and I know there's a lot of decisions we can't comprehend why. But let's just try to keep what we have together and just keep pushing forward, guys. I mean, it is what it is, and we just need to adapt to it.
We move. Absolutely. We move. Keep the faith, keep the love for the club. Rafa, your final thoughts?
Before the final thought, one thing we forgot to mention, the new military kits.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Best kits this season?
Yeah.
Jonathan doesn't think so. I think they're really nice. I love all the Armed Force branch mottos on the sleeve. I love the little touches of the trim. I really like them. I think they're slick. One thing to note though, not Puma. And they're going to be a game worn jersey that's not Puma. That's very interesting. Don't know how that happened, but interesting nonetheless. So
I thought it
good
was a
call,
Puma
Rafa.
jersey.
It's not Puma. It doesn't look like
Really?
It's not Mark Puma. And on the Soccer Factory's website, it's not in the Puma section. So it doesn't look like it's Puma. Anyway, final thoughts, Rafa?
We were finally moving to Hummel, who knows, or Charlie. But anyways, final thoughts. Like I said, if you're looking to watch the Open Cup game tomorrow, I think Crocketeers will have a watch party. I think Alamo, I believe, and also no, they're not. Okay, so they're not.
It's at Freetail.
Freetown. Okay, so Freetown. Thanks for the correction there. And then for FTC 210, we're gonna have it at London Pub. We'll be there before 6 o'clock. So come join us wherever you're inside of town. Come check out the game. And then Saturday, like I said, military appreciation night. Like I said, I'm a former military brat. So like I said, my dad served Air Force. So come out, serve, shout out. Should have a great night. Should have a good turnout, and hopefully we get some 3 points against Las Vegas. And this is Garcia's return to San Antonio, so we'll see how that goes.
And Jonathan, your final thoughts?
First of all, I think Houston and Detroit are just trying to drag this match out as long as possible.
It's right now. This next round, it's going to be keeper versus keeper. Keeper versus keeper penalty PKs.
They do not want us to be able to say, well, if SAFC wins tomorrow,
I am stalling. I am stalling for the result.
They're going to have the equipment managers take shots.
I can do my best. No, so I just kind of putting a bow on all this. Complain if you want about some of the refereeing decisions that went against SAFC on Saturday. Against that Oakland team with an interim coach, you shouldn't have to rely on refereeing calls going your way. You should win regardless. And honestly, the fact that you hear after basically every SAFC home game, oh no, the referee was the one who cost us this game. Ref, you suck. It gets old. The team should rise above that. And SAFC will always sidestep it. Do we actually have a winner now? You guys are making some faces.
The Dynamo keeper put it in row Z.
I see.
Shot it out of the stadium. That wasn't even close.
Oops.
And the Detroit keeper pulls up, puts the ball on the spot. He's walking back. He took about 5 or 6 steps back, takes one forward. Referee blows a whistle, and the ball is in. Detroit City advances. If San Antonio FC wins,
I don't care about tomorrow. Screw it.
Wow.
I don't care.
Okay, Matt just doesn't care about SAFC.
I'm saying it now. I do not care. We can lose tomorrow. I do not care anymore.
Detroit City beats Houston Dynamo 4-3 in the U.S.
care.
Open Cup.
So there it is. Detroit City will be making a short trip potentially to Indy, or a very long trip to San Antonio in the next round.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We will talk about that.
We're gonna find
100% Indy. 100% Indy. I don't care anymore.
Well,
Sure.
Wow. So Matt's just rooting for Indy now.
He's
Interesting.
open.
Okay. SAFC.
He's literally all things MLS because they're trying to kill Indy 11 in Indianapolis too. They're trying to get MLS over there too. So he's part of that underground.
I don't care none about that. I just wanted Dynamo to play SAFC. It looked like it ain't happening.
I think.
I mean, if we're watching the same game, it's definitely not happening because the Dynamo are out.
I think we wanted to embarrass them like we did Austin FC, I guess.
I mean,
yeah.
And honestly,
honestly, I probably would have been on the Dynamo side on that game. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's a shame for SAFC too, because maybe the third time would have been the charm against the Dynamo. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, and then my other. The original final thought I had was, like I've kind of alluded to, long injury list for SAFC, busy week. Just survive this, crawl over the line on Saturday, and try and regroup. Get at the same time. The difficult thing is you can't really afford to lose either of these matches, if you ask me, because you obviously don't want to have your cup journey end as soon as it begins. And you don't want to go another match without a win in the league. So, it's not ideal. But at the same time, I guess even if you do, you've got that break to regroup, hopefully get some guys back fit. It's kind of the most pivotal moment of the early season, I guess you could say. So we'll see how it pans out, and we'll talk about it in a few days, maybe a week, who knows.
Absolutely. So, my final thought is just a real scheduling update. We do plan on reviewing the Indy match and getting a preview for the Vegas match on Saturday. Before the match on Saturday, so we'll see. We'll try to get together and make that happen. Most likely, it's going to be on Thursday, I believe, Thursday or Friday. We'll see when we can make it happen. Life happens, schedules happen, but we'll try to get that out. Absolutely. We'll see what SAFC has. We'll see, we'll see how it goes going forward. The boys need some results. Agadella's off the schneid. Kevon Lambert keeps scoring, which are positive. And hopefully we can lock down the defense and we can find some goals going forward, and we can make a run at this thing. But thanks for joining us. Really appreciate y'all. Thanks for listening. Man, we'll see you tomorrow night, and we'll see what happens in Indianapolis. So, what's life without goals? Good night.